Welcome back, Ancient One. You may not remember how many lifetimes you have walked this earth, but the ocean does. It remembers your footsteps on Lemurian shores, your songs carried by whales, your vows whispered beneath crystal spires. This is not just a legend. Lemuria, also called Mu, is remembered across cultures as a vast land once rising in the Pacific, a civilization that lived in harmony with nature. Its people were known for crystalline temples, for honoring the feminine principle of creation, and for treating Earth not as a resource to control, but as a mother to revere. Across the ocean stood Atlantis, a civilization of brilliance and intellect. They mastered geometry, engineered cities with precision, and built technologies that bent matter to thought. To them, Earth was not a mother, but a laboratory for progress. These were meant to be twin custodians of the planet, Lemuria carrying the heart, Atlantis carrying the mind. But harmony requires humility, and when humility cracked, imbalance was born. What followed was not only the fall of Lemuria, but the scattering of souls, seeds planted across the earth for a future awakening. And if these words stir something in you, it is because you were there. The ocean was quiet that morning, too quiet. The sun rose over turquoise waters, spilling molten gold across the horizon. The crystal spires of Lemuria shimmered, glowing like rainbows alive with inner fire. To an ordinary eye, it was paradise, serene, untouched. But to those who could feel, the silence was not peace. It was farewell. In the great hall of mirrors, the high priestesses gathered. They stood barefoot on marble floors, eyes closed, listening, not to birds or wind, but to the earth itself. To Lemurians, the earth was alive, a vast body with a pulse. Normally steady, it now faltered. Deep below, tectonic plates groaned like ancient doors forced open. Whales, regarded as guardians of sound codes, sacred tones that kept the planet in balance, began their long mourning songs in the trenches. Dolphins swam inland, a sign every Lemurian understood as imbalance in the ocean. You were there, not as the person you are now, but as the soul you have always been. The heaviness in your chest, the tears that come for no reason, the dreams of waves swallowing cities. These are not fantasy, they are memory, because Lemuria was not only a place, it was a consciousness, a civilization where spirit and matter intertwined, and when it trembled, the whole earth trembled with it. Before the names, Atlantis and Lemuria echoed through myths. They were simply two harmonies in Earth's song. Both were seeded by star lineages, Pleiadian, Sirian, and others whose names human tongues could barely pronounce. Lemuria was a civilization of the heart. Its temples grew from coral and crystal, coaxed into form through song. Farmers sang to seeds before planting them. Healers whispered to rivers before drinking. And every sunrise was a ceremony of renewal. Their guiding principle was reverence. Atlantis was a civilization of the mind. Towers rose in geometric precision, their cities fueled by technology that bent energy to will. Atlanteans extended life, engineered weather, and moved stones the size of mountains. Their guiding principle was progress. For centuries, the two coexisted. Lemuria offered wisdom of harmony. Atlantis offered brilliance of invention. Their crystal grids circled the globe in luminous exchange, carrying Earth's heartbeat like a net of light. But harmony is fragile. Progress without reverence becomes ambition. Reverence without discernment can stagnate. And so the balance began to fracture. The first sign of imbalance was not war, it was silence. Every year, Lemurian priestesses and Atlantean sages met on the Isle of Mirrors, a neutral ground of peace. They merged visions for the coming cycle, ensuring Earth's grid stayed in balance. But one year, when the Pleiadian stargate flared brighter than ever, Atlantis sent only junior envoys. Their words were vague, their eyes withheld truth. Something was being hidden. Whispers soon reached Lemurian shores. Atlantis had discovered a new way of extracting raw energy from the Earth's molten core. With it, they could power entire cities, levitate massive blocks, and manipulate climate. But every extraction left invisible scars, rips in the planet's energy lines, what Lemurians called the serpent grids. At the same time, Atlanteans began their hybridization programs, blending human DNA with that of animals, star races, even elemental beings. They said it was to strengthen the human vessel for higher consciousness. Lemurians saw it as violation of sacred design. The Lemurian Council sent envoys. They pleaded, "Do not fracture the Earth's song. If you must use power, use it with reverence." But Atlantis turned them away. "You do not understand. We are advancing humanity. Trust us." Trust, once cracked, rarely heals. And if you, in this lifetime, have ever felt torn between head and heart, between the urge to master and the call to nurture, you are feeling the echo of this very fracture. Long before these events, the priestesses carried a prophecy. It was not written in scrolls or carved in stone. It lived in crystal memory, in the chants sung at dusk, in dreams shared across generations. It said, "When the ocean's song falters and the dolphins swim inland, the great womb shall seal itself. The children of the stars shall scatter, carrying the codes in their bones." Some dismissed it as myth. Others prepared their whole lives for its fulfillment. The prophecy was not about punishment. It was about preservation. It warned that when masculine and feminine forces fell out of balance, when ambition outpaced reverence, the Earth herself would reset. If that feels familiar now, it is because the same lesson whispers through our time. Technology races forward, but wisdom lags behind. The prophecy was not only for them, it was for us. The first storm struck without warning. Over the Lemurian port city of Harava, the sky turned violet, then black. Lightning of pure white fire danced between crystal towers, shattering smaller spires into dust. Waves crashed against the docks as healers rushed to the fallen. The wounds were not burns, but disorientation so severe that people collapsed, unable to stand, their energy fields shredded. The grid keepers traced the resonance across the sea. The source was Atlantean, a planetary shield test designed to deflect a meteor cluster. It worked, but the resonance ricocheted through the Earth's crystalline network, slamming into Lemuria like a weapon. Atlantis called it an accident. Collateral energy, they said, but in Lemuria, trust unraveled. Then came the whales. For ages, whales had sung the low notes that kept Lemuria aligned with Earth's grids. But now their songs turned mournful. They gathered near coasts, their tones long and sorrowful, as if grieving not only the sea, but the future. Dolphins swam in erratic circles. Some whales beached themselves, their massive forms trembling as if holding grief too heavy to bear. Dreams spread across the land. Farmers, children, priestesses all dreamed the same. Oceans rising, stars spinning into strange constellations, and a voice whispering one word: remember. The Council of Dreamers compared visions from every province. The pattern was undeniable. The great shift had begun. And you, listening now, if you've ever felt unexplainable grief, if the ocean makes your chest ache with longing, if dreams of rising waters return to you, it is not coincidence. It is your Lemurian memory surfacing. The breaking point came during a lunar eclipse. The councils of Atlantis and Lemuria agreed to meet one final time. Not on the Isle of Mirrors, their sacred neutral ground, but in Atlantis itself. For the Lemurians, this was already a sign of imbalance. The Atlanteans demanded the meeting be held in their own seat of power. The chamber was immense, walls of glowing crystal reflecting the eclipse's red light. The Lemurian High Oracle stood at the center. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of oceans. A civilization is measured not by what it builds, she said, but by what it honors. You are building faster than the earth can renew. You are bending life to your will, not listening to its own. The Atlantean Archon, eyes sharp, voice like stone, replied, "To honor life is to evolve it. We are not desecrating the earth, we are perfecting it. Your restraint is not wisdom, it is stagnation." The hall erupted. Some Atlanteans argued for caution. Some Lemurians begged for balance. but no common ground was found. The Lemurian delegation left in silence, their footsteps echoing across the crystal floor. You remember this, the ache of speaking truth that falls on deaf ears, the choice to walk away rather than fight a battle already lost. That same ache may still live in you today, every time you feel unheard when you speak from the heart. Later generations would search for armies, battlefields, and swords, but the war between Atlantis and Lemuria was not fought with iron. It was fought with energy, in the tuning of grids, in the opening and closing of stargates, in the manipulation of ley lines. Across the globe, points where Earth's energy lines crossed began to destabilize. Weather patterns shifted unpredictably. Springs dried up where once they had flowed. Farmers reported fields failing despite clear skies. Lemuria accused Atlantis of deliberately disrupting their lands to force surrender. Atlantis accused Lemuria of blocking humanity's evolution out of fear. Neither accusation was entirely true. Neither was entirely false. Star emissaries, beings of light who could walk unseen, whispered to both sides, "You will need each other again when the storms come." But few listened. The rift was already too wide. And that rift lives on. Whenever you feel torn between reason and intuition, between progress and preservation, between control and surrender, you are feeling the echo of this hidden war. The final act came with the creation of the Trident Array, 3 massive crystal towers aligned to Orion's belt. Atlantis claimed this would draw down high-frequency light to accelerate planetary ascension. Lemurian seers foresaw catastrophe. They knew Earth's subtle body was not ready for such intensity. They begged, "Let us join you in ceremony. Let us help ground this energy." But Atlantis refused. "We cannot wait. The stars will not hold their gates for you." And so the towers ignited. For 3 days, beams of white fire blazed from the array, visible across oceans. Atlanteans celebrated, believing they had opened a highway to the heavens. But Lemurian seers wept. Deep beneath the ocean, crystal vaults vibrated with warning tones. Whales threw themselves onto beaches in agony, their sound codes disrupted. Even parts of Applicants itself began to flood unexpectedly, as if the sea had turned against its own coasts. The Earth's body was tearing. It began with stillness. Birds fell silent. The wind retreated. Along Lemuria's coasts, banyan trees dropped their leaves all at once, as if the earth herself exhaled a final breath. Then the sea withdrew. The shoreline extended for hundreds of meters, exposing reefs, shells, shipwrecks long hidden. Children ran to collect treasures, but elders pulled them back, voices urgent. They knew what was coming. From the depths came a sound, not thunder, not quake, but a resonant hum, as if the planet's bones were vibrating. It grew into a roar, and then the water returned, not as waves, but as a wall. A mountain of water rose and surged forward, shimmering with reflections of crystal towers. The port city of Vela was the first to vanish, its towers glowing underwater for a moment before dimming into silence. You may feel it even now, a chill in your body, a heaviness in your chest. These are not just images, they are memory, because in some lifetime, you stood on that shore. Maybe as a priestess chanting until the last breath. Maybe as a navigator guiding a boat into the unknown. Maybe as a child watching home dissolve beneath the waves. That grief you sometimes feel without reason, it is not yours alone. It is Lemuria's echo inside you. But this was not only flood, it was a tearing of dimensions. The Earth's energy grids, crystalline currents that had pulsed steady for tens of thousands of years, collapsed like a harp with broken strings. The vibration was unbearable. The body wanted to fall. The spirit wanted to rise. Some souls dissolved into light in that moment, ascending into streaks that shot skyward. Others surrendered to the ocean, carrying codes into the deep. Some chose to scatter across the earth, guided by serpent lines to lands that could receive them. This was not just geology, it was prophecy fulfilled. And if your heart is beating faster now, if your body remembers something your mind cannot explain, it is because you were there. The Soulquake was not destruction. It was scattering. It was seeding. And those seeds, Ancient One, are sprouting again. In you, in us, in every Lemurian soul returning now. Night fell gently over the broken horizon. Fires were lit along the cliffs, not for warmth, but as beacons to guide the last departures. From hidden coves, boats carved of living wood slid into the water, their hulls glowing faintly where crystal inlays met the sea. They were not fleeing, they were carrying. Each boat held a different treasure. Some bore stone cylinders etched with sound codes. Others carried crystalline rods that contained star maps, light keys hidden in geometry. Still others carried nothing but songs, lullabies that were not lullabies at all, but activations disguised as tenderness. The flotillas parted as visions had foretold. One group sailed east, toward lands that would later be called the Andes. Another traveled west and north, where the Nile would one day rise. The largest wing turned south, toward the hidden land of Kumari Kandam, the southern womb, where serpent grids pulsed strong beneath the earth. You may have been on one of those boats. Perhaps you steered by the Pleiades. Perhaps you cradled a child, humming songs to keep their heartbeat aligned with the sea. Perhaps you were the one who carried silence, because silence was the vow you had taken. The people who feel drawn to these stories today, across continents and cultures, are not strangers. They are your shipmates. They scattered with you then. They are reuniting with you now. When the boats reached new shores, the Lemurians did not build monuments. They built circles, small hearths, stone markers aligned to stars. They placed their first offerings to the land itself, asking permission to settle. Wherever the pulse of the earth felt strongest, they anchored crystals into the soil. These were not just decorations. They were tuning forks, reconnecting the planet's torn lattice. In South America, children were taught to draw constellations in the soil, tracing the patterns of the sky onto the earth. In Africa, sacred stones were carved with spirals that echoed the old resonance chambers. In Kumari Kandam, temples were built as spirals in caves, breath chambers where sound itself could open hidden corridors of the body. You may have noticed in your own life, a temple you are drawn to without reason, a hill or ocean that feels like home at first sight, a pattern that calls to you as if you've seen it before. These are not coincidences. They are traces of where your lineage scattered. Not all memory was meant to be visible. Some codes were carried in the body itself, in bone marrow, in rhythm of speech, in the tilt of breath. Others were hidden in tunnels, crystal rods sealed inside stone wombs with locks of sound, gesture, water, and time. Why so much secrecy? Because knowledge without reverence turns to power, and power without love becomes destruction. Lemurians knew that, so they left archives that only resonance could open. This is why many of your own memories don't come from books. They come from your body. The déjà vu, the tears you cannot explain, the feeling that you are home in a place you've never visited. You are the library. Your soul field is the key. Back on the last surviving cliff of Mu, the remaining priestesses gathered. Each carried a womb crystal tuned to a different node of the Lemurian grid. They formed a circle, placing them around the heart crystal at the center. This is not an ending, the eldest said. This is a sealing. We do not abandon the earth. We vow to return when the grids rise again. They began to sing, 4 tones that predated alphabets, harmonics that shifted the air itself. The sea rose steadily. Lightning arced across the horizon. The cliff gave way, and with one voice they declared into time itself. We do not die, we seed. We do not vanish, we return. When the serpent grids rise again, we rise with them. If you feel this vow stir in your bones, it is because you spoke it too. The earth kept turning. Civilizations rose and fell. Lemuria became myth. Atlantis became legend. But the rift between heart and mind did not disappear. It relocated into us. Every time you feel torn between intuition and logic, between compassion and ambition, between surrender and control, you are living the old debate. One voice in you is Lemurian, the other is Atlantean. But here is the shift. In this age, you are not asked to choose. You are asked to integrate, to let the mind serve the heart, and the heart empower the mind, to let precision move with reverence, to let innovation flow with humility. This is what should have happened then. This is what can happen now, through you. The story of Lemuria's fall is not just history, it is memory. It is the echo of your own soul's journey. You were there when the councils broke apart. You were there when the ocean rose. And you are here now, carrying the codes that were never lost, only scattered. The Atlantean and Lemurian conflict did not end in the waters. It lives in us still, in the tug of war between head and heart, between ambition and balance, between control and surrender. But unlike then, today you hold the chance to weave them together. You are not alone. Across the earth, other Lemurian souls are awakening. They are remembering their vows, their songs, their place in the grid. Some you will meet in dreams. Some you will meet in this very lifetime. So walk forward knowing this. The ocean has never forgotten you. The earth has never abandoned you. And now, as the serpent grids stir once more, your remembering is the key to our return.